Right, what else have we got? Let's have a look at this. Any guesses to where this came from? 1016 amp 250 volt 2-pin plug, same spacing as the night light I just shown. Pins are a bit fatter. It's got an earth pin. This is polarised, but you can only go in one way. The wire can either be taken out the top or at the side, and it's got a little screw grip. That is to grip the cable so you don't pull it out. Also, it's got a little handle on it to be able to pull it in and out of the socket. So it's probably for a disabled person or someone that's got arthritic hands and can't grab a hold of the plug in the normal way. It is French. France uses a 2-pin, and their plugs or their sockets have a little pin sticking out, which is the earth pin, and that is what that hole is for. Germany, they have a different type of plug, still the same spacing, but their earth is done on the side. It's called a Schuko plug, and they've obviously got together, because now if you buy an appliance in either Germany or Holland, I say Holland because they use it as well, in a lot of countries in Europe you'll get a plug which you can fit into either system. There'll be a Schuko plug with the earth clips plus a hole in the side. So it is universal for Europe. Not all of Europe, but for certainly Germany, Belgium, Holland, Spain, Portugal. Italy uses a different system, and so does Switzerland. And the UK, we obviously use a different type. Yeah, there's a French plug. Poland too uses, I believe, this type of plug. And obviously some of the old French colonies would have used this as well. Anyhow, I'm definitely going to break this into several talks because, you know, we've done that one. You'll all be going to sleep. And I'd hate that to happen. I love talking. Right, here we have a very old dynamo torch. This works on the principle of a magnet spinning around a coil to generate AC. That is just a lock to lock the thing in. There's a low current bulb. And needless to say, as you gently operate it, you turn your energy into electrical energy. Principle discovered by Faraday many years ago. A dynamo torch. You can buy modern ones of these. They're all right. I have somewhere got one by Philips, which is in a metal case. I've mislaid it at the moment, but if I find it one day, I'll put it on. This, as you can see, has a ratchet in there, which engages on a tooth wheel. It's geared to increase the speed, obviously, and the coils are set statically, and the magnet, which has several poles. Well, I say several poles. It's hard to explain, but it looks like it's got several poles round the outside. I know normally magnets only have 2 poles, although you can get a 3rd pole on a bar magnet, but I don't know what this is. This works on that same principle. Probably the poles are probably either north or south, and the centre's the opposite, or half and half. But nevertheless, it spins round loads and loads of coils, and it generates AC, which the lights the little bulb up. These came out, well, I think they were actually used during the last World War. But, you know, lasts forever. This little item unfortunately doesn't work, but not to worry. It's handy for talking about and demonstrating, but I can't show it working. As you can see, it's got 2 pins on it, continental plug, a bulb at one end, and it's called Aculux Apollo 2000. It is in fact an early rechargeable torch. I would think by looking at the little bulb inside, which you can't see there, but I will show you the type of bulb in a later thing which I'm going to put up, of the similar type of filament arrangement. Anyhow, this, from that I would work out, would be probably 1970s. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. I picked it up yesterday at, well, Wimbledon, and I said to the lady, I said, oh, where did you get that from? I said, it looks continental. She often sells French stuff. She said, don't know. And then she suddenly said, I did a house clearance, and a lot of the stuff was German. Well, I can remember from years ago having a little torch called Chiltern Aculux. Not the same shape as this, it was sort of a flattish torch. It had the pins at the back, but there are pins, there are 5 amp type pins. Exactly the same, little switch on the side. And I thought, well, that is interesting. I thought the company had gone out of business, but obviously not. And when I looked it up, it appeared that Aculux was probably the original company, German company, which appears to have invented this type of torch, and that was after the war or during that time. It used nickel cadmium cells, and one of the German companies was Diak. In the old days, they're often referred to as Diaks, Deutsches Edison Accumulator Company. And they were at the time good quality. A lot of the rechargeable batteries now are not that good, but these ones were Diak, and they would be for the hydrite type. So that's what will probably be in there, but unfortunately it's sealed. This has been glued in, and when you take that rotating switch off at the back, the little clip round there, you take that off and you can't get in. It's completely sealed. So it is just a conversation piece, just shown as a bit of interest. A rechargeable torch from the 1970s. The base, or the base cap, goes in. Interesting to note that, let's try and get it in. Working with one hand is awkward. It's actually gone in. And that also acts as the switch. I put it on charge. It shows 20 milliamps. The milliamps, yeah, even less than that when I check what the current is. And when I unplugged it, it was showing the same thing. So there is a circuit there, but it's obviously the batteries have just gone past recharging stage, and as I say, it's just a piece to put on the side, talking piece. Now I know they had one in America which the shape of it was like you can imagine like a lump of cheese, sort of a triangular shape. I don't know who made them. I know I've seen one many years ago. But anyhow, that's the rechargeable torch. trying to think of anything else. Yeah, I'm definitely going to break this talk into several, because by the time I'm going on, you're all going to be asleep, and I don't want that. Valves, or should I say tubes. A lot of people have been talking about tubes and valves. Thought I'd show a couple. I'm actually going to show three. This one is a 6V 6G. 6V means 6 volt, and that refers to the heater voltage, I believe. I'm not going to be too dogmatic because I could well be wrong, but I think that's what it stood for. And the 6G was the actual configuration inside. It's probably a pentode. A diode's got 2 parts, triode 3, pentode I believe is 4. This one has a built-in shield. This is to cut down interference which could be picked up on the, it is a screening. It's the standard pin configuration for this type of valve, and the heaters are always that pin and that pin. 2 I've got my fingers on. Traditional, that is the 2 heaters. Sometimes they got a name on the base. This one, I think it's actually an English one. It looks, it was either Osram or Tungsram. It was probably Tungsram, but 6V 6G is an American number. In England we tended to have different numbers. Each manufacturer had a different number. So if you had a Mallard valve, that probably an equivalent one to that by Osram or Marconi or Cossa would have a totally different number, which I think was absolutely stupid. The Americans had a bit of sense. Their valves had, made by various companies, had a standard numbering, and this valve here which I've got out is one that has a standard numbering. Although that valve I just showed you was an American designation, this valve is also it has the American. Normally the number is in like a hexagon or an octagon shape. This one's a ring, but normally you get it in a hexagon. Inside 6C6, made in USA. That is a valve, a radio valve or a tube, and old radios used to use that. Now on the side, notice that silvering. I'm in full flow today. You often mention about getters, and that is the silver that is left inside after the getter, which you can't see, is under that. It is deposited as a silvery substance on the inside of the glass. Now if the valve becomes soft, that means air has got in, either through the sealing pip or where the wire's gone through there. It happens. It was cracked. This goes white. It goes like a white powder. You then can see through it and see the outline of the actual getter, which is like a little grid which would have hold the magnesium pellet. This is fired by high frequency voltage. It's fired through the glass. Another way you can tell an American valve, they will always, and someone out there is going to say no they don't, but all the ones I've seen, this is how you can tell whether they're English or American. They always have on it, licensed only to extent indicated on carton. They've always got that. And this is a different base configuration. There were several different types of valves. The old English valves used to use a 4-pin, sometimes a pin in the middle. I could talk for hours on these things. I suppose in a way I was brought up with valves. transistors did come along. It's got antique dust on it as well. This top cap is one of the actual connections inside. So you've got your pins. If they want an additional connection, it's at the top. Some valves would have two, one each side. Finally, in this little group of valves, this one I'm pretty sure is a voltage regulator. We look at the pins. Alright, it's a valve where the pins are set in glass. Different pin configuration again. These were later valves. You can see the pins going up to the bits inside. There's no heater in this. It is simply two electrodes. I know it looks like more wires, but they are to support it. They may go to same similar different pins, but it is basically a neon bulb with two contacts. There'll be gas in it. Why it's got that sort of getter at the top there, I don't know. Someone out there will probably know. I'm pretty sure it is a voltage regulator. I'll stand corrected on that one. It's designated, it is American, USA, OB2. I could check it up. There's that hexagonal thing. Well, it's not quite hexagonal, but that is the way they show it. USA OB2. Pretty sure it's a voltage regulator, which is just like a neon lamp. Breaks down at a certain voltage. Anyhow, that concludes the valves or tubes today. I have got other ones. Oh, well, one thing I will show you just before we go. This American valve, which I showed you, I never told you the maker of it. It is Fried Eismann. Oh, Fried Eismann. And you'll notice it's got a slight bit of shielding inside. But what they do to overcome it even more is to put two shells round it. These shells fit completely round the valve. That goes in there like that. That goes like that. And we've got a spring clip that holds it onto the valve. So it's completely screened. You're even leaving a little space for the connection on the top cap to come out. So it's completely shielded. And these shields, well, this one anyhow, is called Goat. New York patent pending. And that is done for shielding the valve, so one valve doesn't interfere with another, or an inductor, a tuning circuit doesn't interfere. It can cause oscillations. You could get feedback and various things like that. Anyway, that concludes the valves. Something different again. As I've noticed, there's lots of collectors of padlocks. I picked this one up yesterday at my normal boot sale. A little bit unusual. It's got like an attachment at the side. I think that was possibly for a chain to have been affixed to that. I don't know. I vaguely remember seeing one of these in the dim and distant past. Anyway, it's got the Yale name on it. The Yale and Town Manufacturing Company. Yale now I think are owned by the Eaton Corporation, I'm not sure. But of course then I think they may have been bought out by Abloy, who seem to have bought out all the lock companies around the world. Assa Abloy. So this was an old one. This was when it was Yale and Town. You've got the number of the key, made in USA, number of the key, spare key with it, which I'm assuming is the same number. I haven't even tried it. Probably is 6228. Looks the same. Yeah, 8228. Just a little padlock. I put that in because I say there's one or two of you out there. I know Diesel Deucey has an interest in padlocks. He's also got some very unusual ones. But, you know, this is not one of my main hobbies, so, you know, as things turn up, I put them in a box. I have got other ones of these, but similar, not the same. So, that goes in for a bit of interest. Funny enough, I'm nearly come to the end of this little talk. You'll probably be saying, thank God for that. Now, you probably guess I do like talking. There's a couple more items. This little box is in fact a transformer. You wouldn't believe it, but it's a transformer in a block of resin. Look at it more careful. Turn it around the right way. You've got some pins there and there. You've got 0 to 12 volt, 1 VA, which is 1 watt. It's fused at very low fuse, so be very careful you don't blow it, because I'm imagining once it blows, it's gone. That's the secondary. You've got another one the other side, so you've got 2 low voltage windings, 0 to 12 volt. There's where it's made. Aval Lindbergh Limited, South Ockendon, Essex. These marks refer to the country that have been passed through. VDE is a safety standard, or a standard used in Germany, which would be equivalent to the British Standards Institute, the Underwriters Laboratory. The one next to it has the cross and S, that is Sweden. No, it's not. Switzerland, sorry. The cross signifies it's actually Switzerland. This mark you often find on stuff. It's a sort of computer mark. This is SAC, which is also American, one of the American standards. Funny enough, it hasn't got UL. That symbol says it's a transformer. It represents the 2 windings linked but not connected. The primary, 0 to 120, and that's also fused. And the other side's 0 to 120, so there's 2 separate windings. You join the 2 together and you can use it on 240. And there's the pins. It is working. I tested it with a meter, and there is continuity between all the pins. As you see, a tiny transformer which doesn't look like a transformer. To finish with, and I've nearly lost my voice, so it's definitely going to be the last one on this little series. A year or so ago, I picked this lamp up on the right hand side. It had no bulb in it, there was not a bulb in sight, and the bulb hadn't been taken out and laying with all the other rubbish that it was with. It's one of the dealers at the boot sale. Where he gets his stuff from I don't know. A lot of it looks like it's come out of an office, but this I saw that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I picked it up, and of course there was no bulb in it. And when you see the plug, being American, I normally get the stuff a bit cheaper, because I say to the seller, oh blimey, you can't use that over here, and the price normally comes down. It doesn't always, but in this case it did, and also added to the fact that it takes a very unusual bulb, which means I'd probably have to import one from America. The price came down even less. Now this is what's called a polarised plug. See, the pin's a bit fatter on one side. This is obviously for the non-Americans, so I don't want to insult the Americans intelligent, but obviously a lot of people in England and probably elsewhere in the world doesn't realise that that's what it is. But anyhow, it's polarised American 2-pin plug, and it's 110 volts, 120, 110, 120. This lamp, I thought, well, it looks rather nice. I'll get it. I don't know what I paid for it. I didn't give much for it. It's called a Blue Max lighting. It's on a dimmer. Turn it on and it would brighten up. Now, of course, I had no idea. I didn't know whether it was going to work. I thought, well, no point in trying to get a bulb for it. If it doesn't work, it's no good. I've had a thought of perhaps wiring. What they do, they put the 2 wires in the holder. The holder's actually like that. It's that type of holder. I could have in fact pushed in 4 wires, put them on a normal straight tube, connect them up at the ends and see what happens. That would prove whether it was actually working or not, but I never got round to it. Well, a couple of weeks ago this lamp turned up, which I have been using. You've probably seen it. I haven't even cleaned it yet. It needs a blooming good clean. Had a bulb in it. This is just a straight 220 volt lamp with a straight on-off switch. Nothing special. There's no dimmers on it or anything. Just a normal light. It's actually the same type of light would be given out by this as this one here. It's the natural daylight type lamps for seasonally. You know, a lot of people, including myself, suffer from not enough sunlight, and it sort of drags you down a bit during the winter months. And this type of light, you put it on and it provides one of the vitamins, I'm not sure which one, but through the skin and the eyes, it gives you a boost. It's like waking up in the morning and finding a lovely bright day, as opposed to waking up in the morning, big black clouds and rain. Anyway, enough of that. It's the same holder. Well, I thought, the chance here has come along to find out whether the Blue Max works. Funnily enough, and I'm very cross about this, Blue Max have got a website, and I hope they get this, because I've contacted them or tried to contact them. They say all messages would be answered. Well, they don't. I've put several messages in, emails, and no response whatsoever. My opinion is that they realise it's from England and you're just ignored. This, to my mind, is very unusual, because normally the American people are normally very, very obliging. So in my book, it is a one-off. I was once sent a socket by Leverton's free, and that was unbelievable. You know, they're very, very obliging, but this company, no, they're not. So wasn't very pleased. Anyhow, getting back to the lamp I put in here, and I thought, right, the wattage is nowhere near the correct wattage. It fits, but the wattage is wrong. So I thought, well, at least I can see if it's going to work. I'm going to screw it right around for maximum brilliance, just see if it works. Well, I can't show it now because I'm in here and the plug's outside. Take my word, it does work. This little thing here, the little control, you only have to turn it about, well, there's on and about there, and that's about as bright as I would want to run it. So it does work. So somewhere along the line I'll try and get one of these bulbs. Why that company won't get back to me, I just don't know. As you can see, it would fill that whole space. It's as wide as this. This tube's much smaller. It's as wide as that, and that same length. So there, it's called a Blue Max lighting. But not to worry, that's the only time that I've found my requests have been ignored. I'd much rather them said, sorry, we can't supply. But to just ignore you, I think, is very bad. but it is not the norm. I will quickly say it is definitely not the norm. Anyhow, I'm finished with all these little talks now, so I'll put a general thank you now at the end, because I'm going to make this into several shorter goes. And as I say, a lot of these were for Ethan with the insulators, Kurt with the red bulbs for his heater, which is an HMV, possibly one of the first fan heaters they ever made, and all the other bits and bobs. So once again, thanks for looking. I hope you haven't all gone to sleep. Many thanks for looking. Any comments, please make, please leave. And thank you again. Thank you.